Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to JR's Basement Podcast. Also, this video will be on Larky's House of Craziness YouTube page, emanating from deep within the bowels of, well, you guessed it, my office. So I'm still working from home, still got the nice setup in the office, so we're going to continue to do it this way. And we got some exciting stuff today. Also, almost guaranteed to be a little bit rant centric. There will be some rants in this video. Probably not going to go quite as long as we normally do. However, we are going to have some good discussion here. So, to kick it off with some good news, we are getting some sports back. At the end of July, the Major League Baseball season will commence. So, from what I understand, the exact schedule still needs to be made. But we know what the structure will be. So every team will play 40 games against their divisional foes, against the other teams in their division. That's 10 games apiece. So our beloved Minnesota Twins will play 10 games against the Cleveland Indians, the Chicago White Sox, the Detroit Tigers, and the Kansas City Royals. Now, honestly, who knows what's going to happen there? We're also going to get 20 interleague games against their geographical equivalent, is what they're saying. So, the Twins, for instance, will play 20 games against the NL Central, which means they will get some games in against the Milwaukee Brewers and Ryan Braun and all those fun guys. I think Ryan Braun still plays for the Bruins, if I'm not mistaken. But pretty excited about that. I mean, the Twins last year had a pretty epic run, and obviously they lost to the New York Yankees, of course, because the Twins cannot beat the Yankees, because as soon as they walk into the Yankee Stadium, they're already beat before they get on the field. So, should be interesting this year. Obviously, a much different set of circumstances this year. I don't know about fans being at the games. I don't know, all of that, but it's going to be fun. We're going to get some sports. I'm looking forward to hearing Dick Bremer and all the guys there, and listening to it on the radio, because that's how I'm going to listen. That's how I'm going to see these sports, is by the highlights and listening to it on the radio, because I dropped cable altogether because it's too damn expensive. So a couple of other things with that. So the teams are going to have 60-player rosters, and they'll open with 30 player rosters. There will be a universal DH there, so pitchers will not be hitting in the NL, which I think they should have done away with that years ago, either gone one way or the other. There's no point in having a DH in just one league. Transaction freeze to end the week. So teams will be able to make transactions again beginning this Friday at noon. And trade deadline will fall in August. There will be a COVID-specific inactive list. So if the player shows symptoms or is diagnosed with COVID-19, they will be put on the inactive list, and requires hitters to miss at least 10 days. And what's being said, the most surprising element of the details, is the MLB has had talks with the city of Nashville about hosting 2 teams of unsigned players who have been paid to remain in shape as potential replacement players. So those minor leaguers, they can go to Nashville and stay in shape and all of that. So exciting stuff. We've been itching for sports. I see ESPN on Twitter will tweet out videos of cornhole. which is fantastic because I love that game. But they have that, and the Japanese league is putting like blow up dolls and dummies in the stands to make it look like there's fans there. But and then NASCAR this week had allowed fans back in at a certain capacity, which we will get back. We will get into NASCAR here shortly with the whole Bubba Wallace issue, but. But I'm really excited to get baseball going again. You never realize how much you love something until you don't have it. And sports is one of those things. Now I've been staying busy. I've been doing lots of things. I've been coaching Little League here in town, which is awesome. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I'm really excited to get some sports back and kind of get a sense of normalcy back in our lives, because for a lot of us, sports is a huge part of our life, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for kids to be involved in that, and even for adults to get away from the stresses of everyday life. So my prediction for the season, I mean, if we're gonna have, what did they say, 60 games? I think the Twins will win the Central. I don't see the Tigers or Kansas City really being a threat to that lineup. And there's a few more players that are going to be coming up from the minor leagues that could do some damage. Of course, we got Buxton. Of course, we got Nelson Cruz. Of course, we got the Bomba squad. But one player to keep your eye out on is Royce Lewis. A minor leaguer. He was a really high, close to #1 pick for us a couple of years ago. So excited to see if he gets that call up. And, just like every other year with the Twins, it's all going to be about pitching. Because it doesn't matter if you score 10 runs a game, if the other team's scoring 11, there ain't much you're going to do about it. You're going to lose more than you win. So hopefully they can keep on track with the Bombas. I don't think the Twins have ever had a team that, the Major League Baseball has never had a team that hit as many home runs as the Twins. But be interesting to see if they can keep up that pace and do it again this year. Obviously, they're not going to hit as many this year. There won't be any home run chase. I don't think anybody's going to hit 74 home runs in 60 games, although Mike Trout definitely has that capability. But excited about Major League Baseball coming back and looking forward to it. Now, if we can just get to the postseason and stay away from the Yankees until at least the championship round or the AL championship, that will be exciting. So moving on to other news, let's stay in the baseball realm. So like I said, I've been helping out coaching my son's 8U Little League team. We've had a few practices, and so 8U means that at the time of sign up, the player has to be 8 years old or younger, which Jackson was. So he is one of the older ones because he's 9 now. But it's been a lot of fun. Really, at this level, you are teaching them the game, teaching them, how to catch, how to throw. And our coach Chuck is very adamant about if you can catch and if you can throw, you're going to win the ball game. Because at that level, they're not quite there yet. We got a few players that are good hitters, good throwers, good catchers. But the exciting thing is that the state of Minnesota and our great Governor Tim Walz has given us the go-ahead to start scrimmages and playing games in a couple of weeks. So originally, there were a lot of towns around the area that weren't even going to do it this year because they weren't going to have games. But now that we've gotten that okay, our leadership is reaching out to other towns and setting up tournaments and setting up games and travel games and things like that. But a lot of these other towns, they weren't going to do it, but now there's can be games, so now they can do it. so they're just getting going. They're just getting sign up going. So it might be a couple, 2, 3 weeks before anybody's ready to actually play some games. But in the meantime, we're gonna do some inter-town scrimmages. We'll take the 10U team and the 8U team and kind of put them together and break them into a couple teams and play some games. But it's been pretty fun, obviously coaching those young players can be a struggle at times because attention spans are quite short. But we're having a good time, and we got a bunch of good kids. We got we got some really good coaches, and having a good time with it. So twice a week we get together, we play some ball, and we teach some young kids how to play the game of baseball and just get them outside in general. So often our kids are inside, either stuck to the TV or the tablet or the video games. So just getting them outside, getting that fresh air and all that, it's good. So moving on, so we have move this over a little bit. This first video is going to be a little rough. So moving on from that, let's get into the NASCAR issue that we had recently. So this past weekend, Bubba Wallace, who is the only African American NASCAR driver in the series right now, there have been other African American drivers, but with everything that's going on with the Black Lives Matter and all of the police stuff and all of that, it was reported that there was a noose hung up above his car in his garage. So that caused quite a stir, as you can imagine. I can't imagine what Bubba Wallace was going through at that point. There have been some incidents of what we'll call hate crimes, lynchings, basically, across the country. I think there's been 4 or 5 of them. But this happened in NASCAR in a very secure area, and was quite troubling. Now, they did call in NASCAR did call in the FBI, and they did their investigation, and it was found to be a garage pull. So you always have a rope that you pull the garage door down with if the motor doesn't work or if you don't have a motor. So what they found in their investigation, they sent like 15 FBI agents to investigate this, and they found that it was a garage pull down, and yes, it was fashioned as a noose. Not the best thing in the world to tie your knot with on a garage pull down, but it was found that there was no criminal activity. There it was not pointed at Bubba Wallace. Now I can see where he may have been a bit upset about that, but there was no foul play there. Now, do I think that they should be fashioning nooses as garage pull-down knots? Absolutely not. There's only one reason you fashion a noose, and we're not going to get into that. So you just shouldn't do it. A simple square knot would do the trick. But they did have a noose on there which had been tied, apparently, and there was pictures of this back in 2019, and there's no way that so there's no way anybody would have said, well, I'm going to tie this noose because Bubba Wallace is here in this garage, because they don't know which garage or which stall they're going to get until they get there the week before. So it is what it is. It is the society we are living in. A lot of people thought that it could have been a retaliation type thing because they have now banned the Confederate flag from NASCAR, and before you know it, they're going to ban the Confederate flag just like they've banned the Nazi flag. And I don't want to get too much into the whole Confederate flag debate because it's just not, it's not constructive. Does it represent the South where slavery was legal? Yes. But it also represents other things. Like I said, not going to get into it. So, that's the big news out of NASCAR. And I know Bubba Wallace was on an interview with Don Lemon last night. And he really just said, it was a noose, straight up. Which I'm sure it was. But I don't think there was any foul play there. I don't think there was any messages trying to be sent or anything like that. But I do appreciate them investigating it and concluding their investigation quickly. Some people think that it was too quick. However, when you have photographic evidence, there's really not much more you need to do. So, speaking of the Confederate flag and history, so the world has gone a little bit crazy, as you know, over the past several months. People have now started tearing down monuments of Christopher Columbus. They've tried tearing down monuments of Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and our founding fathers, which this is what happens when the generation of participation trophy recipients grow up and they've never been told no in their life. They've never had to, they've never been held accountable for their actions. And this is the world we are living in today. So this really, really frustrates the absolute hell out of me. So Nazi Germany built concentration camps to house Jews and killed millions upon millions of Jewish people. Have they tore down Auschwitz? Have they tore down any of these concentration camps? No. Do you want to know why? Because the Jewish people did not want them tore down, because they did not want people to forget history. Now, slavery was bad. It was awful. You shouldn't own people. However, that point in time was a much different point in time as what we are living in now. And to tear down a statue of Christopher Columbus, who, yeah, he did some bad things. It is what it is. But he discovered this great land that we now call America, the United States of America. To tear down the statue of Thomas Jefferson or George Washington, two of the greatest men in history that helped forge this great nation out of nothing and helped give us our freedom from England, is just asinine. Now, if you want to, those that forget history are deemed to repeat it. There was a book that I read in high school. I believe it was called Fahrenheit 411 or 9/11. No, Fahrenheit 411. The 9/11 one was a movie about 9/11, or a book about 9/11. But in that book, so they burned all the books because it had the history and it was bad. They didn't want people to know about it. You cannot erase history, because then you are doomed to repeat it. You will repeat it. There's really no other way around it. So these kids, basically, because they're all between the ages of 18 and maybe 30. There's some outliers out there that are older or even younger. But these are the kids that have never had consequences for doing wrong. Their parents were their best friend. Their parents didn't want to tell them no. Their parents just didn't want that confrontation. quite honestly, they didn't get whooped enough when they were younger when they did something wrong. So now they think that it's acceptable to go out and break the law, which you're destroying public and private property there. You're destroying a monument. And all in the name of racism. Because everything is racist now. Because I am a white man, I am automatically deemed as a bad person, basically, because I have not felt the struggle of an African American, which I haven't. I'll be the first one to admit it. As a white guy or a white kid that grew up in a really nice town and my family was fantastic, I did not experience that, and I can't talk about how someone else feels. I can only talk about how I feel, and I can only control my actions. I cannot control the actions of some jackass down south flying a Confederate flag, talking about, lynching African American people or doing whatever he's doing. I can't control that. I can only control what I do. But because I am a white man, I am automatically deemed as racist or bigot or whatever the case may be, which is the farthest thing from the truth, but I'm not going to get into it. Because the last thing anybody needs is a lecture about how not to be racist. It's simple. I've said it in the last podcast. Be good to everybody. As Mr. Demon Hunter himself reminded me, ELE. ELE. Everybody love everybody. It's simple. Just treat everybody how you would want to be treated, no matter what their skin color is, no matter their nationality, creed, sexual preference, any of that. Doesn't matter. Just treat everybody equally. All right, so I told you this was going to be a rant-filled podcast today. I'm going to try not to get too crazy. So what else do we have going on in the world today? The coronavirus, as I predicted just 2 short weeks ago. So we had all these riots and protests and everything, and nobody was even paying attention to the coronavirus anymore. It was kind of falling to the wayside. Well, guess what? Now everybody's back on the coronavirus train. So over the past, I'd say week, La Crosse, Wisconsin, just across the river from us, has had a boom in coronavirus cases. Restaurants are tweeting out that employees have gotten it and that they're shutting back down, and everything closes at like 7 o'clock. My wife and I went out for her birthday last Saturday to La Crosse. We went to Texas Roadhouse, ate some steak, and their fantastic bread and cinnamon butter. And then we were gonna go shopping after that. We were gonna run to like TJ Maxx or Hobby Lobby or something like that. Well, everything closed at 7 o'clock. Everything. Tried to go to Farm and Fleet, not Fleet Farm, Farm Fleet. That's Wisconsin. Closed at 7. Tried to go to TJ Maxx. They were closing at 7, and because they were on the list of places that people had been with the coronavirus symptoms or diagnosed with the coronavirus, couldn't go in there without a mask. So, you know me. Well, then we can't go in. My wife even said, well, I guess we can't go in there. So we tried to go there. Luckily, we had gone to Sam's Club before we went to eat and got a few things. But we came back to town. We went to Fleet Farm instead. Not Farm and Fleet, like I said. There's Farm and Fleet, and there's Fleet Farm. Can't mix them together. I don't know what happened there, but they broke up or something, and one went Farm Fleet, the other one went Fleet Farm. I don't know. It's a Midwest thing. Don't even try to understand it. Just don't call them the wrong name. Or write a check to the wrong place, because they won't accept it. But yeah, now everything has been so blown up again about the coronavirus. And Dr. Fauci came out and said he is optimistic that there will be a cure for the coronavirus by the end of the year, which that's kind of coincidental. I bet you there'll be a cure for the coronavirus right around the second week in November after the presidential election, because the coronavirus at this point has a 99.9% I believe, or 99.3% rate of not dying, whatever you call that, survival rate. That's what it is. And I'm willing to bet you, I'm willing to guarantee you, I'll give you the Joe Namath right here. I guarantee that around the middle of November, it will be announced that there is a cure for the coronavirus. Because that's right after the presidential election. Now, whether you're going to vote for Donald Trump or you're going to vote for Joe Biden or whoever the third party, green, whatever is, that's when it'll happen. That's when everything will go back to normal because we got the cure here, so we don't have to worry about it no more. We can stop destroying the economy. We can stop destroying small business now that the election is over, and now that we have established that we can have these mail-in votes or the absentee votes, which we'll get into that at a later date because that's a whole podcast in itself. But yeah, that was the big news as of yesterday or the day before, that we're confident that we'll have a cure by the end of the year, early 2021. Well, that's because the election will be over and you can stop screwing around. But yeah, I mean, it's all just garbage. Let's just get back to normal, folks. I get it. You want to wear your mask, wear your mask. I had somebody call me a jackass for not wearing a mask in Hy-Vee last week, and luckily I was in a pretty good mood, so I just let it go. Stepped back a little ways with this guy and his wife that was on a scooter, and not for medical reasons either, if you know what I mean. And their cart full of junk food and garbage. But yeah, I'm a jackass because I refuse to play into their fear mongering and all of that. So what else do we have to talk about? I mean, we got sports are starting back up. NFL training camp should be starting again here soon. We had Father's Day the other day, which was a pretty good day. I got to work on my Father's Day. We've had a couple of trees. Let's talk about that. We got a couple of trees taken down in our yard. One really, really, really big ash tree or maple tree, whatever the hell it is. It was made of wood. Taken down in the backyard. That was basically rotted out at the base. So that took a whole weekend, and then this past Sunday. We had a big pine tree taken down in the front yard, so he said he could come over on Sunday and take it down, so I went ahead and did that, and then I spent a majority of my day cleaning up the brush and getting that off to the side and putting the logs in their place, kind of out of the way, getting it cleaned up so it didn't look like complete trash until my buddy with the trailer can get here to help me take it down to the dump and take the other wood away. But definitely an interesting experience. So, he got here that Saturday morning to take down this big tree in my backyard. And he got here about 9. He said, yeah, we should be done about 12:30. I said, oh, okay, if you say so. Well, he had a birthday party to get to by 5, and I had to kick him out at 4:15 so he wasn't late for that because he still wasn't done. He still needed to cut down the stump and all of that, which he did that Sunday when he came back. But it took him a good 8 hours to get that tree down. Was really impressed with him. Angry Beaver Tree Service, Zach Lynn out of Minnesota City. If you need a tree cut down, call Angry Beaver. He does excellent work. He was fast. He was professional, and just did an all-around great job. But other than that, that's really all we've been up to. Lastly, we will touch on the big news from the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago, whatever it was, the voice audition. Now, as you can see, I am doing this podcast from my office, so that should tell you something. So the audition itself, so my audition was at 8 o'clock at night. I wanted it later so that all the kids were kind of wound down and they weren't screwing around. and I had some other stuff to do that day. But so the process of the audition was I logged into my artist profile, and there was I basically recorded 90 seconds of me introducing myself, singing a verse and a chorus to the song Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, and then I had to submit it. So I got all gussied up. I put my cowboy hat on, put a blazer and a shirt on and all of that, and had the room all set up. I had a picture of the kids in the background to build my story, and did my 90 seconds, and then submitted it, and then waited. So had to record it a couple of times because I was at like 92, 93 seconds, so I had to redo it, which was fine. But I submitted it. I went in. I made myself some dinner because I'm weird. I only eat once a day, and I only eat after I work out. And I had just I had baseball practice that night, so I didn't eat before that. So it was like 8:30. I'm eating dinner. My phone goes off. My Fitbit goes off saying I got an email, and it says, NBC The Voice. So I'm like, all right, Jackson, here we go. Here it is. And it comes in and basically says, after reviewing your submission of Hallelujah, you're not what we're looking for this season. You sound great, blah, 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 blah. Same old song and dance, same old rodeo as every other year. So the fact that they reached out to me proactively to ask me to audition, now granted this was a few weeks ago, really didn't make any more difference than if I would have just signed up on my own. But it is what it is. I gave it a shot. The one thing I was telling my kids about it, because they were asking, what I was doing and all of that. And I said, it's this show, and I explained it all because they don't watch it, because we don't watch it. And I said, the important thing, whether they say they like me or whether I move on to the next round or whatever, I said, the important thing is I'm taking a shot. The important thing is that I can guarantee you I would not make it if I didn't take a shot at it. So the moral of the story is take a shot, because I guarantee you won't make it if you don't take that shot. No matter how scared you are, no matter how nervous you are about something, just take the shot. If you miss, you miss, you move on, whatever. But it is what it is. I didn't make it on. I don't have to go to California. Not a huge fan of California to begin with, so it is what it is. So with that, we are going to end this podcast. Don't have much motivation for you this week. I guess let's go with this. So think about where you see yourself in 5 years. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Think about your dreams and aspirations. You may not be able to see them. You may not be able to feel them or touch them. But Wi-Fi, you can't see or touch or feel Wi-Fi, but that doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and get it. So whatever your dreams are, whatever your aspirations, whatever you want to do with your life, if you put the work in, you will achieve greatness. If you put the work in. That is the most important thing. You can't expect greatness to fall in your lap. You don't get it for Christmas. You don't get it for your birthday. You got to go out and get it yourself. So whatever that dream is, whether it's like me, either, getting a recording contract or opening a restaurant or just living the best life that you possibly can, put the work in, work your butt off, and in time, those dreams will become a reality. They will. I promise you. So with that, I wish you good night. I wish you good luck. Go Vikings! Go Twins! And we'll see you next time.